Let's move on to another of our sites, and this quite different from that so-called social realist site, and that is one of the great parks, Hibiya Park, uh, right outside the Imperial Palace.
It's a beautiful image, and this is one of my favorites actually, and it is a favorite because of the gentleman who's relaxing on the park bench, wearing a suit and a hat, but his arms are behind his head. He's just kind of stretching out there, enjoying life.
I've seen a photograph of you sitting on a park bench, and you look very, very similar to that.
As was mentioned earlier, to the Japanese eye and ear, you mentioned Hibiya Park, and one of the first things that comes to mind is the Hibiya riots. When Theodore Roosevelt offered his interventionist skills to Russia and Japan to negotiate an end to their hostilities, the treaty which was signed in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, he thought he did quite a job, but the Japanese public was not nearly so impressed. They felt that they didn't get enough in the way of reparations. Japan didn't get reparations for the war, and there were riots in this park. So it looks beautiful, bucolic now, but that layer or two down of historical memory is quite interesting. But by the time this print was created in 1930, it was a wonderful place to stroll, and still is. A grand space with the Imperial Palace on one corner. On another side is the Imperial Hotel. Frank Lloyd Wright's no longer existing. There is an Imperial Hotel, but Frank Lloyd Wright's famous piece of architecture was also there to view. Someone could come in from the suburbs and spend a whole day in this park and enjoy the seasons.
One of the VC sites done by Professor Andrew Gordon from Harvard University, one of the VC sites, deals with the Hibiya riots of 1905, when Japan and Russia were brought together, as you said, by Theodore Roosevelt. In Japan, the image was that Japan had decisively defeated Russia, and therefore this settlement was unfair to Japan, and besides, the war had caused hardship in Japan. So we have riots in Japan, and that's one of the themes that other units in VC also pick up, not just consensus, harmony, conformity, but also conflict as one more culture of conflict as well as cultures of conformity.
At the same time, it's actually it was also a center of Western cultural practices, actually. So Hibiya Park during the 19-teens and 1920s, I think even into the 30s, was a site where the Army Band and other bands would do periodic outside concerts. And so people who remember acquiring knowledge and appreciation for especially Western, what we would call Western classical music, would oftentimes cite Hibiya Park's outside concert as one of the first places that encountered Western music. I believe there was also even a Western-style restaurant on the park premises. So it was a place of political importance, and also a site where Westernization took place and was associated with that in important ways. So it's a very multi-layered park.
And the counterpart might be something like Central Park in New York, where in the center of a teeming metropolis, you have a huge amount of land turned over to public recreation and public use.
And it was one of the first parks that was specifically designed or modeled after Western-style parks in Tokyo area.
So where did the land come from? Who gave up the land?
I believe, if I remember correctly, it came from the imperial household.
Oh, okay.